Welcome to December's edition of December's very festive edition of the Hopcast Half Pint. I'm James.
And I'm Adam.
And we've got a lot to talk about in this month's Half Pint. Let's crack open the first beer to start with, because we've got an eclectic selection. I do like that word. An eclectic selection of beers tonight. So first of all is the one that I've brought, which is, I think it's a little bit Christmassy. It's not actually advertised as a Christmas beer, but it's got cranberry in it and it's got nutmeg in it, and they are, quintessentially Christmassy.
Yeah, it rings Christmas to me, that definitely.
So this is Marble Brewery, who are over in Manchester. It's the cranberry and ginger dark sour. I've had a couple of dark sours before. I always find them quite intriguing. They're different.
I'm interested to see how dark it actually is. Whether it's more like just a red one, a little bit more kind of cherry coloured, cranberry coloured.
I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like a real kind of deep ruby sort of colour. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh.
It is a little bit.
It's a little bit like that Castile Rouge was. It's like a Belgian-y, soury red. Thank you.
So yeah, colour-wise, it's actually probably what I thought it was going to be. It's kind of like a real deep ruby sort of thing.
Go for cherry cola.
Yeah, there's an element of cherry cola to it. So this is kettle sour dark ale with cranberry, ginger, orange and nutmeg. And it is 4.1%. That's nice.
It is nice, yeah.
It doesn't. The flavour's a lot more subtle than I
Yeah.
expected it to be. It's quite refreshing actually. Much lighter actually than it looks like it's going to be.
It's quite tart. It's really tart for like that's how. Yeah, you're right. I think I got a little bit of that gingeriness on the nose, but then as I've tasted it, I'm getting more of the cranberry and that kind of losing some of the sort of aromas from it. But it's really nice. It's really drinkable.
Yeah, the orange doesn't particularly come through, but you can kind of tell that it's there. It gives it something. You can see that the orange kind of carries through some of the other flavours. Same with the nutmeg. Actually, it's not particularly noticeable, but it would taste different without it. Definitely. Yeah, quite like that. Right then, let's talk brewery news first, because we have a new brewery coming to Sheffield. Now, this doesn't happen all that often, so we need to make a big deal about this. We've got a new brewery coming, and it's it's unusual, this, because it's a husband and wife who have come all the way from Boston. They've been brewing in the States for 10 years, and they are relocating to Sheffield, and they're opening a new brewery with a tap room in Attercliffe, which is not known for its range of breweries at all. I think it's been known for many things over the years as Attercliffe. It used to be kind of like a bit of a factory foothold, and then there was a bit of a clubbing scene out there for a bit. So maybe it could be about to become kind of, the next big thing when it comes to breweries. Now, there's many ways that I could get this name wrong. So it's St. Mars of the Desert. It might be St. Mars of the Desert, but it's, St. Mars of the Desert. Don't know what it means. But this is quite exciting. So this is going to be, I don't know if you've seen the pictures as well, but it looks pretty decent.
There was news about it, maybe I'm thinking maybe about a year ago, when they were first looking at somewhere more between Abbeydale Road and London Road, that kind of where the Antiques Quarter is.
Right, okay.
And then it kind of went a bit quiet. So it was only until recently we saw some activity on Twitter that it's kind of like, oh, right, so that must have fallen through, and it must have been they found a new venue. But yeah, it's quite interesting to have a tap room out there, particularly because as much as it's not really that far, there's not really much in terms of like a drinking scene out there.
It's weird, isn't it? Because the kind of drinking scenes now are so kind of micro down that even, we're going to chat a little bit later on about a new, it's not a new venue, but a new venture by the team that run the Rutland. And I was thinking about that, is that a little bit out of the way compared to everything else? And you think it's about a 2-minute walk from some of the places you'll be going. Attercliffe, it's kind of like, you'd have to make a special journey there, wouldn't you?
You would do, yeah. Tram possibly. I think there might be a stop that goes towards Meadowhall. If you're coming from town, so if you're coming the other way, then maybe you could get on at Meadowhall, a few stops down. There's that option.
Right.
I'm sure there's probably quite a lot of buses that run
There will be a
between
lot of
towards
buses.
Meadowhall, and I imagine it does go that way. But yeah, it's interesting.
And it is walkable from town. It's just not
Yeah.
the kind of time that you're going to be likely to want to go to a pub. And I hope I don't offend anyone by saying this. Probably not the time of night that you want to be walking through Attercliff, because there's not a lot there after dark, because it's quiet.
No, quite
and
quiet.
you know, it's had various reputations over the years. Don't know. I honestly don't know what it's like now. But I find that interesting that. You know, it's going to be one of those places that you've got to kind of make a special trip there. But we've had other places like that before, and they've worked. But whether, don't know, it could prompt a whole new kind of like little mini area.
Yeah, it's making me want to kind of revisit what we talked about back when it was kind of first talked about, because I think there was a little bit more information about the two people who were, whose venture it is. So maybe it's time to sort of revisit that and have a look.
It'd certainly be an interesting one for us to pop along to and
definitely,
do an episode from. Bit of sediment in the bottom of that one. So Marble, who I always feel are probably a brewery that we don't feature enough on the Hopcast, because I think they're a great brewery,
Yeah.
Marble. Dark Sour, what's your previous experience of dark sours?
I think not really much. I think that Castile Rouge, that Belgian one that Sean did on episode 1, was probably a fruity kind of, but that's a lot stronger. This is much more in your vein of what you kind of get in these kettle soured beers now. Just sort of like 4%, quite sharp but quite easy to drink. Yeah, I mean, I'd happily drink that again. Probably not quite as festive as I was thinking it might be. Not even saying it's not a festive beer, but the ingredients kind of hint towards it being a little bit.
It's got a wintry kind of
Yeah.
feel to it and a wintry taste. I don't know if I'd imagine drinking that sat out in the sunshine. I don't know.
Have you put sours away for the year now? Then are they locked up in the?
I've got a few. Interesting. There's been like 2 or 3 Christmas sours this year. Not including that. There was the Christmas Crick. That I forgot what they're called. There was is it Gypsy?
Gypsy Hill.
Yeah. That they did, which was like a cherry sour. I don't really know what it had to do with Christmas, but when I was drinking it, I was thinking about Christmas. I've not drunk it yet actually, but Cloudwater have done a cranberry and papaya sour, which again not marketed as Christmas, but because it's got cranberry in, and it just my first thought was just that feels a little bit Christmassy, so I'm saving it as part of my collection of Christmas beers that I'm just saving for until a little bit close to the time. So no, I think in a lot of ways sours last year it felt like sours were all about the summer. This year it feels like they've gone a little bit more kind of all seasons.
Yeah, I think as people are getting more used to it and seeing them, it's just
there's a market there.
Yeah.
Right then, we've got 3 beers tonight. And that was the small one compared to the others. So the other 2, both ones that you've brought. So tell us about the first one.
Well, this is a new one which I didn't even know about, but because my friend Matt, who does the gluten-free pint thing, it's a new beer from Acorn Brewery, which is Woonwell, Barnsley. Years they've always done very, very good IPAs, kind of around about 5%. And I remember drinking a lot of cask of that in the past. And they're very good at picking a country and just doing single hop varieties from different countries. So they did like like Czech ones, like French ones, German ones. So it's quite nice to have this nice base beer and just see what different countries' hops did. So I always think they're very good. But I don't drink as much of it now because I think they've fallen into the more traditional kind of side of things. But what they've brought out this week is it's a 6.3% IPA, which is gluten free. It's got Idaho 7 Amarillo, Chinook and Equinox hops in it. It's in a big 500ml bottle, so 6.3%. So I'm quite interested. I thought, it's quite local, it's new, and it's nice to see people embracing this gluten-free thing. Be interested to see if it has any impact on flavour, which I imagine it doesn't.
No, I can't imagine that it will do.
Give it a quick open. Drink much?
Yeah, good. No, I've not drunk any Acorn stuff for ages, which is daft really because they are local. I mean, we've got enough breweries in Sheffield to probably not have to venture too much further afield if you wanted a local beer. But I know, I've not gone drinking Barnsley for ages, but I know like the old number 7. They do a lot of brewery.
I think that's their tap.
Yeah, I know they always have their stuff on. Always hear good things about that. and there are certainly people that swear by Acorn's beers, definitely.
I'm just interested that they've gone in for a 6.3%, which I always find.
Yeah, you don't tend to get it with these kind of, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, more traditional breweries tend to go for the lower ABVs, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, going back to my friend Matt, who was gluten intolerant, the big one that first came out was Phantasma, which we covered, which is in the 6% range. And as much as he loved that as a beer, and I love it as a beer, it's a great beer, to have a limited range of beers and you're having to drink 6% plus, that's all you've got. It just seemed a bit of an odd choice to go in something quite high when you think, why don't you just go in something at your 5% range that you would have done before?
I wonder if this is a mindset from breweries that they think that making it gluten-free is in some way going to hamper the taste of it, therefore ramp up the percentage to make up for it. My understanding of the whole gluten side of it is it makes little if no impact on the actual taste.
Usually, I think most people add this enzyme called Brewer's Clarex, which just it basically eats the gluten, I think, and it takes it down below a level which is acceptable to call it gluten-free, or to not impact on most people's digestion, I suppose, is it? Yeah. First taste, it's not got much aroma, but it's got like a really nice bitterness to it. It's much different to kind of popular sort of East Coast stuff, but it's not sweet in any way. It's quite dry for a 6%.
I was going to say it's quite dry, and quite a traditional taste, but not bland. Definitely not bland. I think it was a massive shock coming from the sour onto that. And my first mouthful, I thought, "Oh, I'm not going to like this." Having had a few gulps of it now, it's actually quite nice.
And I've just devoured basically half of it in about 2
You're not going to drive later or anything, have you?
No. I took one off Matt earlier and I thought, I really want to feature that, and you were quite keen to see what we thought of it. And I was like, 6%.
So when you get a little bit further down, you can taste the strength in that.
Yeah.
It does taste taste strong.
Yeah. It doesn't taste like boozy though, I don't think that.
No, I don't think so. I think it just tastes like it's got a bit of backbone to it.
Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, all the fashion at the moment is for the stronger beers to really hide their ABV. Whereas we've talked about Halcyon before, about a beer that's 7 point whatever, and it screams 7 point something.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's fine. I think sometimes people are going to want a beer that's got a bit of strength. You don't drink vodka because it just tastes like a bit like apple juice, do you? So there's always going to be people that want to have something that really carries through that percentage. Right, we've got some venue news. We've got a lot of venue news, plenty happening this time of year. If you recall kind of going back probably maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 months ago on the Half Pint, or maybe it's not that long ago, it just feels like it, where we talked about quite sad news actually with the Sentinel Brewhouse closing down. Well, it's back open.
It's back open, yeah. It just kind of all of a sudden got this sneaky little tweet that said it was from them, and it said, "Rumour has it we're opening up again," which was a little bit of a teaser. So I think it's been open 2 weeks now. It's open on a Wednesday to Saturday, I think it is. So at limited hours at the minute, which you can kind of understand. They're probably not trying to take as many risks as they might have done before. It's under new control. I think someone's come and bought it out, so. That does mean that they are going to have to rename, because obviously they've gone bust. So
right.
They are doing some quite good deals on some of their cans and things of takeaway and to drink in.
Okay.
You can buy 4-pint pitchers of stuff quite reasonably priced. So I think they're trying some new things. I don't know if the kitchen doesn't seem to be open, but it does look like they are brewing. So
yeah, it says on the website that the food will be back in 2019.
Yeah.
At the moment, you're talking very limited opening hours as well.
Yeah.
I think it's Wednesday to Friday night.
Yeah, Wednesday, Friday.
And then all day Saturday, and it's available to book for a function on Thursdays. Which, by the way, if you are, I know it's pretty close to the big day anyway, but just for anything, if you're looking for somewhere to hire for a function, it's a brilliant place for that. Really good place for that. I don't know if they're still doing what they did before, whereby they've got the little classroom thing, and you can have a little course in beer stuff. But if you are looking for somewhere, it's well worth inquiring about that.
Have you got any ideas for name? New name?
Tenticell. No, I haven't. I mean, they should they play on, because it did become a bit of a kind of like a Sheffield United football kind of thing. Should they play on that a little bit and go a little bit down that route? Something involving steel, maybe.
Yeah, I've heard a few people sort of talk about Phoenix as, you know, rising from the ashes. I don't know if that's a negative thing or it's
that works. Yeah. So do we know anything about who it is that's involved in this?
It is a company. I think it's Kavanagh or something, but there's not much being kind of talked about in terms of. I don't think it's from a particular like brewing background or anything. It just sounds like they have had some involvement with a brewery, but they were not kind of. So it's almost like a new venture. So Alex is still there.
Okay.
It's not taken over, but obviously, as a director of a company, I think when you go bust,
it's complicated.
So they're probably doing what they can to keep Alex in charge of as much as he can without crossing any
fair
any
enough.
lines.
I probably should have talked to. I saw Alex at the Les Car, which is my local, last Sunday. But I was deep in conversation with someone, so I didn't go and sound him out. I could have got I could be here with all the information, knowing exactly what's going on.
He's very limited on what's kind of available, and obviously because they're not open as much, it's quite difficult to. And I suppose some of it's probably still quite sensitive or unknown at the minute. So it's nice to see that they kind of. They've come to some agreement, and it was, you know, they always said it was available for someone to purchase, but I suppose it was quite a big period before anybody sort of took a chance on it. So you know, it was looking like maybe it wasn't going to resurface. But yeah, it's good to see. You know, it's another Sheffield brewery that's, you know, fought back.
Yeah, it's a great building. I'm pleased that it's still going to be used for what it was intended for, because it would have been such a shame if that had just been left to kind of go to Bracken to ruin. So news that's quite local to me, over on kind of the Ecclesall Road side of the city. So the Nursery Tavern, which is, I think, generally considered kind of like a bit of a studenty pub, but you know, all right for a beer, particularly in the summer. Nice big beer garden. I would say a fairly long overdue refurb that's taking place now. I've not been in since it's been redone. I don't know if the beer offerings are any different, but it has got a big thing above the door about kind of craft beers and stuff. You know, it might be that they always used to have moonshine on. They'd always generally have punk IPA on, but it is good. It's good for. I've always kind of gone towards Nursery Tavern for a couple of things. Firstly, during the summer, I think the beer garden's great, and there aren't many places on Ecclesall Road that you can watch football in that aren't full of knobheads. So it kind of ticks that box as well. Yeah. I'm pleased about that. I'll report back properly when I go in to actually sample some actual beer, but it looks good from the outside. This is not a refurb, but a bit of a change for a really well established Sheffield venue.
Yeah, it was. Kellam Island Tavern, which, you know, a bit of a Sheffield institution. The owner there was Trevor, has been there for, you know, I said he's been 3 decades. He was the guy who took it from in the early 2000s from like a nothing pub to going in within a year or so, winning Pub of the Month, Cameras Pub of the Year in Sheffield, and then basically went from 2014 all the way to 2018, so this year, with the exception of 2013, unlucky for some, being Sheffield's Pub of the Year, Camera Pub of the Year every year. They won Yorkshire Pub of the Year in 2004. So these are all under his reign. And then most famously, they won the Camera National Pub of the Year 2 years running, so 2008, 2009, which has never ever been done before or since.
Yeah,
so
it's an achievement.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously he's, you know, left it in capable hands of Josh, who was the Blue Bee. I can never say Blue Bee brewer, which we spoke to on the Hopcast last week, and Louise Singleton. So he claims that it's in capable hands. I mean, I'm sure it is. You know, I think maybe it just needs a bit of new life in it. Nothing wrong with it. I don't know how often you go in or not, but
I've not been in for a while. It's I mean, Kellam Island's an interesting case, isn't it? Because it's changed quite a bit in the last kind of 2-3 years in terms of what route you can take. So, you know, I'd kind of class, you know, Fat Cat, Kellam Island Tavern, maybe the shipping. It's kind of been like there's a traditional route, maybe even the Riverside falls into that, and then there's kind of like the new kind of slightly funkier route as well that you can do. And I've got to kind of put Shakespeare in that bracket as kind of like the newer route, which is daft because it's been there forever. But from a beer point of view, like you've got Old Workshop. Depending when it is, you might have Peddler on. You've got Church. You've got
Stewards.
I can't remember what it's called. The new place that has opened next door to
the
Church.
Cutlery Works. Yeah.
You've got that, and then you work your way. You've got Bar Stewards and obviously Shakespeare across the road. So you've got a lot of quite different choices. It does mean that for generally speaking, for me and my mates on our kind of Kelham Island route. Kelham Island Tavern's really kind of dropped off the.
It's a bit of a skip.
Yeah. It's dropped off, which is unfortunate, really, because as you say, it's such a institution in Sheffield, and it's no kind of slur on it as a venue at all. But yeah, maybe it just needs that little bit of something to push it up. And to be fair to Josh and Louise have been involved in the beer festival in Sheffield for years. Josh generally kind of curates, or certainly this year curated the majority of the beer list for Sheffield Beer Festival. So that really would make you think, actually this is going to be a place that could be quite exciting in terms of what beers they'll have on.
Definitely, yeah. I think that the one thing I've always thought about it is it's got such a range of good cask beers. It doesn't have any, I think maybe one keg option, which they've added more in the last couple of years. But I think I've always missed it because it tries to tick a box for all styles. So you'll have like a porter, or, a mild, a traditional one. So if you're really into one sort of style, you go in there, you maybe only have one or two options because they try to tick all boxes.
But what's the solution to that? And this is an entire podcast of its own, isn't it? This is why I find it really interesting in the last few years, the swing towards quite a few places that are stocking more in terms of bottles and cans. Because you go in, if there's something you don't want on cask or on keg, they'll have something in the fridge that you can go for, which 10 years ago, I think having a bottle or a can out of the fridge in a pub was almost like it was just unheard of. No one did it.
It's a bit of a slap in the face to the landlord who was keeping the beer.
Yeah. Well. It was always if you wanted the low alcohol option or you wanted the, whatever it might be, that would be like, oh, that's in the fridge. Or it would be like, oh, we don't have Budweiser on keg, but we've got it in bottles.
Yeah.
Now, you think about some of the. I'm trying to think of a really good example of somewhere that. You go in. I mean, I guess the micropubs have made a huge difference. You think about Bar Stewards and Ecclesall Ale Club. Like, you go in there, it honestly doesn't matter what they've got on the bar. Like, if there's something that really grabs your attention, then great. But you never have to compromise because there's always going to be at least 3, 4, 5 things in the fridge that immediately look at and think, oh, I want to try that.
Yeah, I mean, I've only really just come round to actually looking at the bottles and cans in fridges with the same kind of interest as on the bar. I always think kind of feels like you're cheating a bit, or you're not really. But there's so much good beer in bottles and cans now that it is a natural. You kind of pull towards the bright shiny labels.
You still check the bar before anything else.
I try to.
But I'm certainly in the habit now of seeing what they've got behind the bar as well. Right, what else we got going on? We've got a new micropub in Hillsborough, Brass Monkey. I think we may have touched upon this at some point in a previous episode. This is interesting because if you are a Sheffield Wednesday fan, as we both are, this is very close to the ground, and Hillsborough has some pretty decent pubs. It's not renowned for its choice in terms of beers. So you've got a Wetherspoons pub, all right. There's the Hillsborough tap. There's the Wednesday tap, which obviously is great in terms of the fact that Thornbridge beer, match day, just a little bit of a nightmare. Riverside Cafe is great. New Barrack Tavern who've opened their new kind of beer fridge room, which is not the right phrase for it, and I apologise to Steph because I know she's got a name for it and I can't remember it. We are going there in 2019, so we'll certainly get to know more about that, and that's really, really good. But this is quite a welcome addition. I've not been in yet. I don't know a lot about it. I'm told by a friend that it's a really great little pub. It probably just needs to up its game a little bit in terms of the beers that they've got on. Yeah. But I can't really comment. That's just what one of my friends has said to me. So yeah, that's something that's quite exciting. And we teased this ever so slightly earlier on, but big news about Chris and Kate from the Rutland, who'll be known to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, they snuck something on Instagram maybe I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago about them becoming innkeepers. So they've signed a lease on what is currently a sleep hotel on Scotland Street. So Scotland Street, for anyone who's not familiar, is kind of it's where the Marco Pierre White kind of restaurant on the corner. It's a stone's throw from Bar Stewards and Shakespeare. It's been kind of a little cheap B&B place for a while. I think it used to be a pub called the Old Crown Inn.
Yeah, it did, yeah. I used to live at Metis, which is one of the big apartment blocks there. So you've got Metis and the Velocity Tower, Velocity Village, I'm not sure which one. And the Old Crown Inn was actually my local when I lived there. But went in a couple of times. It was one of those places that had huge potential that you kind of think, this place just needs someone that knows what they're doing to really put some TLC into it. And that was best part of 10 years ago, so this is an interesting development.
It's pretty much bang outside where I have to get my bus home as well, which is frightening. Yeah, it said that I think that it's still in the early days of like sorting things out, but I think the plan is to have the downstairs area as a pub and continue to use the upstairs as an 8-room hotel, kind of boutique hotel. So I think it's just watch the space on that really. So there's going to be no change to operation of Rutland, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it's something a bit new, and like I said, what you sort of mentioned earlier, it's another pub that might bridge Kelham Island from town. It's just that one couple hundred yards extra closer to town. So
it's good.
Looking forward to seeing what happens with that.
I noticed that I've now finished my glass of the Acorn IPA, which I did. The more I drank it, the more I enjoyed it. I do think it does carry that booze pretty well. It's nice.
It's bitter.
Yeah, good.
It's not that
good to have another gluten-free option in there as well. Beer number 3 is also picked by you. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we all see it. If you've got a big Tesco near you, or even a little Tesco, every so often it seems like they completely revamp their kind of, we'll call it craft offerings. And around about the same time as they start stocking Green Mountain and Throw Device, they've always stocked quite a few good kind of craft cans. They introduced this beer, which is a Vocation brewery beer, which, like I said, they already do some Vocation ones, in collaboration with Yeastie Boys. And I heard some really good stuff about it on Twitter and stuff, so I thought you should probably get one. It's called Breakfast Club, and it's a waffle and blueberry stout.
Smells amazing.
I'm absolutely loving the other one. This is in the big cans and it's strong. It's 6.9%. It's £3 a can in a supermarket, so it's top end for supermarket price cans. But it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Considering style and percentage, that is crazy cheap, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely mental crazy cheap.
Really the other one that they've got, you're looking these bigger Tesco ones, like the Tesco Extras. You're kind of looking in those stores. It's got an interesting can. It's like a white can with like a waffle on the front. There's the other one that they do, which is the 7% New England one, which is a Vocation one, which is absolutely incredible.
I've got it in the fridge. I've not drunk it yet. You keep telling me how good it is.
Yeah, it is.
So this has got blueberry, blackberry, vanilla, and cinnamon are the kind of unusual ingredients that you wouldn't expect to be in a beer.
I just thought it'd be a good one to do, like something slightly off the wall, which if people haven't got a local bottle shop close by, they've probably got a big Tesco nearby. So,
wow. So blueberry, waffle and blueberry breakfast stout. I get both those tastes actually.
Yeah, it's nice.
I can get waffles, I can get blueberry, and a bit of maple syrup there as well.
Yeah. It's not overly sweet for its strength either, is it? Sometimes you can get these sort of dessert. Do they call them pastry stouts or dessert stouts?
Dessert stouts, definitely.
Laura's your lady for that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's like overly sweet. I think sometimes you get kind of sickly ones when the strength goes up, but at 6.9%, that really doesn't.
Carries it pretty well.
Yeah.
Other stuff for us to talk about. Well, this is probably more one for you because you know more about it than I do. Tickets now on sale for Hop City.
Yeah, I got a message the other day because I invested a little bit of money They've released their like sort of pre-launch ones. I think it was yesterday or the day before when I think it's kind of going out. But they're £49 a session, and it's the back end of April, I believe, for their like 4-hour sessions, running from Thursday to Saturday. I think it's the third week, I think, in April. So I remember, but I've not been there yet. But it's the first time I've kind of thought, is a beer festival worth £50 for a few hours?
That's a lot of money. So is that does that include anything?
It doesn't seem to. No, I mean, I just got the kind of initial email assuming that I'd been before a bit, if you know what I mean. So it was kind of get your tickets now if you want them on the pre-launch. So, but they were all listed at £49, which I don't know. I assume you get a glass, but I don't know whether that includes any sort of.
That's insane.
It is a lot of money.
£49 just for entry into a beer festival. I mean, how? I mean, we should probably just before we say what we're about to say, just say that we're not absolutely sure if that includes your drinks as well, because there are these ones, don't there, that are. You pay this amount and all your drinks are included.
It's not Tivoli's in Rotherham where you see £10 all in.
If it's genuinely £49 just for the ticket, and then you've got to buy your drinks on top, that makes it an insanely expensive beer festival. And you would think if it's all inclusive that it would be, they'd make a big song and dance about that. Yeah, surely.
I mean, it's become one of those things, isn't it, where it's one of the. It's kind of like the other indie man essentially. They do the Dark City as well, don't they? Which is like the dark sort of beer. But, so yeah, just having a look now. But I don't want this dead air. But I mean, it's just something I've definitely been interested in. It just says general admission for like all 3 sessions, £141. So info. Right. Doesn't say. It does. I assume it's not doesn't include any drinks. Okay. People can tweet us if they've been.
Yeah. Let us know. We apologise unreservedly if we're wrong on that. And,
if it's all beer, brilliant.
If it's £49 and that includes your beer, then that's pretty good value. But that does seem pretty high. We'll check this out further and we'll report back in January.
It's also an early bird charge, so assuming it goes up.
Gosh, it is quite a. Kind of like the coolest of the. It's up there with Indie Man, isn't it, in terms of how cool it is?
Yeah, you can imagine that the beers are turning out there and the breweries that they're featuring are just at the peak of that. You know, exactly what the punters are wanting. There'll be some really, really like fresh, ridiculously hopped IPAs. I imagine.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, couple. Oh, right. This is shameless plug time. Couple of things. Firstly, we've launched a new podcast, which is the official podcast of Thornbridge Brewery. It's called Beer Here Now, which always it rolls off the tongue that, but I always think, has anyone actually heard what I've just said? Beer Here Now. So wherever you normally listen to podcasts, you can check it out, or beerherenow.co.uk. And it's just us two generally talking about Thornbridge beers and getting some of the Thornbridge staff involved as well. So if it's a brewery that you're a big fan of, then check that out. The other thing to mention as well, and this is another completely shameless plug, we have now launched our first Sheffield Hopcast sponsorship packages. So if you head to sheffieldhopcast.co.uk/sponsorship, then you can have a look. If you are involved with a venue or a brewery, or maybe neither of those, but you've got a big event coming up, doesn't need to necessarily be in Sheffield, but there are various packages that you might want to have a look at on our website. So sheffieldhopcast.co.uk/sponsorship. Right then, so has it got a name, this beer?
I think it's called Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club it is, yeah. So Breakfast Club, what are your thoughts?
I really like it. I mean, like I said before, I'm not really into those overly sweet sort of breakfasty stouts ones, especially ones that are like super boozy. But that doesn't do either of those things, but in a good way, I think. I don't think you really have to be into that style to kind of enjoy it. And they've probably done that on purpose with being in the supermarkets. I don't know if it's an exclusive supermarket one. Oh,
A lot of the ones you see in supermarkets now tend to be that, don't they?
Just an exclusive collaborative brew with our friends at Yeastie Boys, but it doesn't say it's our friends at Tesco, so I don't know. I've not seen it anywhere else.
No. Yeah, nice. I mean, the description is indulgent, full-bodied stout, sweet, malty body, topped with rich fruit flavours. It's breakfast in a can. And here's us having it at nearly 6 o'clock in the evening.
I think it'd make a good Christmas Day beer somewhere. Just
Yeah, it probably would actually.
Yeah, if you want to skip dessert, just have one of these.
Good. Probably be my favourite beer of the three, I would say. So all that really remains now is for us, hopefully in a better fashion than we did on the last edition of the Hopcast, to just kind of say Merry Christmas. And thank you for making 2018 a brilliant first year. We wouldn't have been able to do all this without the great support and the lovely comments and feedback that we get from people. So thank you very much. We've got plenty planned for 2019.
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
Yeah. Are we giving any teasers or are we keeping that?
Well, what I've written down is lots planned for 2019, including our first proper away day, recording in a caravan. Recording in one of our houses for the first time on the main Hopcast. We recorded the first half pint. I mean, actually, we got ridiculously drunk in my kitchen on the first half pint that we did that was 2 hours long. Most importantly, and you've got to help me here, as I'm not sure really what to call this. So I see it as two options. Is it the Euro Hopcast Song Contest, or is it the Hopcast Vision Song Contest?
Hop Vision.
Or the Hop Vision Song Contest?
Yeah, it's a little bit,
right.
It's a little bit snappier.
So
slightly.
The inaugural Hop Vision Song Contest, which will be in May, are among the highlights to expect in 2019.
So if anybody who enjoyed the World Cup one, there's a little little hint towards that. But
yeah, but you see, I've got a plan for this. It is going to include dressing up.
All right.
This will go down quite well with me and you, I imagine.
Fine, yeah.
I think Laura will be fine. Sean is going to absolutely fucking hate it.
Which is why you
absolutely hate it.
You got away with Christmas jumper, so
I did, yeah.
It's the only thing we can do.
But he's going to get Sweden, so he's going to have to find a good Swedish beer and come dressed as ABBA. I will only accept if he comes dressed in somewhere or other as all four of them in one. That's my thoughts.
So if everyone's got any nice blonde wigs,
yeah, any of that, yeah. So that will wrap us up for this edition of the Half Pint. A bit longer than usual, but we've had quite a lot of stuff to talk about. We've had 3 beers, and we needed to cram a bit of time in at the end to just generally abuse Sean. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for making 2018 a great first year for us. I hope you've enjoyed the shows as we've gone along. As I say, we've got a lot planned for 2019. So have a brilliant Christmas and a very happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.